Welcome, people! Man, this is a really odd case for me. As an investigator and just looking at this film, there's just no way that they don't know who this guy is. But here's what the FBI is saying. They released video of the person who planted these bombs. Now, they want to connect this bomber to the Trump rally and the so-called resurrection, attack, storming, trying to take over the Capitol, you know, where they arrested all the patriots who basically walked in the Capitol because they opened the door. There were a few people that were violent, but they killed an unarmed woman. The feds killed an unarmed woman, and nobody wants to talk about that. So they have to make this storming of the Capitol really bad. So this person here planted two pipe bombs. Now, the FBI isn't saying how those pipe bombs were supposed to be activated, whether they had a phone, whether they had a fuse, whether they had motion. They're just saying it could have gone off. Man, this stinks. And I'm not a big conspiracy guy that the government is planning to do. But I'm telling you, this stinks. This guy walking is either very, very savvy on law enforcement ways, or he's incompetent. The bombs were so incompetent that they didn't go off, and that there was no, distant way to ignite these bombs, so they never went off. The FBI is only saying they could have gone off, and they were dangerous, and this is for public safety. So the FBI is failing again. It's funny how the FBI fails on the Russian collusion. They fail on Joe Biden's hard drive. They fail on Hillary keeping classified documents on a private server of a basement. They fail in all these areas. But man, they got a good video on this bomber, and it's because of those people, those patriot people that want to hold government in check. It's their fault. Really, really case that makes the hair on my back of my neck stand up, that the government is involved in this. And this is basically, people are going to call it a red flag or whatever, but they're planning, the government is involved in planning these bombs, and now they're trying to make it connected to the mean Trump rally that tried to take over the Capitol. Let's take a look at what Tucker Carlson said about this, which is pretty good.
Here's something very weird. So we have spent so much time and attention and tact.
He's calling it Insurrection Day. That's what the government wants everybody to think. It was crazy. It was out of control. They tried to take over the government. Oh my God. What would people do without the government? To steal taxes, to have the FBI and ATF raiding patriots who want to exercise their rights to own a gun. What would they do without government? Most people would be a lot freaking happier. But anyway, I digress.
Tax dollars devoted to investigating every event of January 6th. We have a committee still impaneled. You probably think you know everything about that day. Maybe not the little things, what was every cop's name, but certainly the Kamala Harris. So for the better part of a year, no one really asked that question because we thought we knew the answer. Kamala Harris was inside the Capitol building when protesters stormed the gates. We all believe this because the Justice Department said so.
This is a flat-out lie. The schedule and the her public schedule, she was not in a White House. See, the thing about, and I think Bongino covered this real quick. I was listening to him in the background the other day. The thing about the president and vice president, when they show up some area, and I've said that before when I worked Secret Service, if you think you're free, you ain't free, and you got no rights when the president or the vice president is in the area. I mean, when we go in and the Secret Service goes in and locks down the area and we're providing security for the president or vice president, you have no rights. None. There is absolute use of force is like, it doesn't matter. There's no anything. It becomes like a nuclear restricted area site, and nobody moves or gets anything or does anything unless they can be searched. You don't have to consent to search. If you're in the area, you can be searched. So your rights don't matter. So the reason why I think that the media and the government passed this lie that she was in the building is it makes it into like this federal protected safe zone whenever they're around. And if she's in the building and people try to get in, it makes the shooting of an unarmed woman seem more justified. And now we found out she was not in the building. and there was no justification to run around shoot unarmed people. But look, you can shoot unarmed people in nuclear protected areas or where the president and the vice president at all day long. Doesn't matter. So it doesn't matter. But if they're not there, shooting unarmed people becomes an issue.
In dozens of criminal indictments, federal prosecutors suggested that Kamala Harris was on the scene when the riot began. The DOJ used Harris's presence at the Capitol as evidence that democracy itself was under attack by extremists. Our first black vice president-elect physically threatened by crazed racist insurrectionists. That's the story that judges and grand juries heard from the Department of Justice. And then, out of nowhere, last November, that story changed. Actually, we learned Kamala Harris was not in the Capitol building.
This is more media left-wing lies. YouTube would probably be giving you a strike if you said she wasn't in the Capitol 6 months ago or a year ago, because they would say you're promoting false information. Now that it's true, you probably still can't say it because they're going to say it's false information. When the media and YouTube and Facebook and Twitter and all these left-wing loons get together with the government, the people have no voice. We have less of a voice than you thought you had.
Afternoon of January 6th, she was somewhere else. Where was she? No one would say. But she was not at the Capitol. So in the face of that fact, the Justice Department was forced to file dozens of corrected indictments to fix the lie they told.
Oh, so they indicted people, tried to put them in prison, promoting the lie that she was in the building, making the charges higher and more severe and facing more exposure on your sentencing. And now they have to redo the indictments. Shocking. The government tried to screw over patriots in the name of keeping you safe, protecting you, national security, all those keywords to get the pesky citizen and get their guns.
Which, by the way, was not a small lie, but a very significant lie. But still, no one answered the more basic question. Where was Kamala Harris on January 6th? Even her fellow Democrats began to wonder about this. Why wouldn't they? Some of them wondered out loud.
Who cares where she's at? She ain't doing nothing, and wherever she's at, she's probably causing harm to the country.
Last week we found out. CNN reported that Kamala Harris was at the Democratic National Committee on Capitol Hill when the riot began. Here's the fascinating part. The DNC building was the site of one of the two pipe bombs planted the night before.
Okay, so this is critical because now we're planting a bomb at a place that the vice president is at. This is like the highest priority other than protecting nuclear weapons that there is. So the only thing higher than the president is nuclear weapons. I mean, if the president gets taken hostage in a nuclear weapon, he's going to get shot or killed or whatever. It's done. Between the president and nuclear weapons win. Sorry, that's the way it is. Now, he would never be in that situation and be close to that to where they couldn't get him out, etc. But that's the priority in protecting things. So the vice president was here and this person was planning a bomb. And the FBI is stumped and they can't find this person. Smells like fish to me.
Apparently by the same people who stormed the Capitol. Harris's own security detail found that bomb at the DNC. According to...
Wow. Key information. Look, I've protected a lot of presidents, been a lot of presidential abductions. We've never found a bomb at any place we were searching. This might be the first time a bomb was found by the Secret Service team for a president or vice president. This might be the first and only time. And this is getting crickets across the national media. Man, I'm telling you, this is some bullshit and it stinks to high heaven.
To CNN's account, Harris herself came within, quote, several yards of that explosive device. Really?
It's several yards. A president, several yards within a bomb. And we can't find this guy. We're stumped. Wow. We had the Russian collusion on Trump, and he was sleeping with prostitutes in Russia, and that was like proven, tried, and everybody knew it. This, we can't find his bomber. The bomber's using his phone continuously in these videos I'm about to show you. Can't find it. Can't put a geofence out. can't try. They can find hundreds. They can find people in Texas that just visited the freaking the protest, and they can find them just from the geofence of finding their phone was there. But they can't find this guy who was on his phone texting and getting directions, and they can't find him. Man, it smells like bullshit.
Remarkable if you think about it. Kind of a big deal. Why haven't we heard that before? And why didn't the Justice Department know? Why did the DOJ think Kamala Harris was at the Capitol? It's not like
they didn't think she was at the Capitol. They're lying. I mean, anybody that thinks that our government isn't lying to us, I just don't get it. And if you believe government, then you're an idiot. Frick, you can't call people an idiot. Well, I just did.
Kamala Harris hasn't talked about January 6th. She talked about it constantly since the day it happened. In fact, just last month, Harris gave a speech in which she said that January 6th was so traumatic that all Americans remember, quote, where they were and what they were doing when our democracy came under assault.
I don't remember where I was at, and I don't think our democracy was ever under assault. I think there were protesters that were fed up and making a statement. And yes, some of them did some damage, and yes, some of them may have entered the Capitol, the people's house, unlawfully. Big freaking deal. I mean, they're burning down cities, looting and raping people, and the media's calling it peaceful protest. Who believes anything the media or our government says? It just doesn't make sense.
She said that. So it would have been the perfect moment for Kamala Harris to tell us that she herself came within mere feet of a racist insurrectionist bomb. They literally tried to kill me. You can easily imagine Kamala Harris saying
they would have been all over that. They would have been screaming from the hills. But again, conflicting lies on what to believe.
This is a person who puts herself at the center of every story, who invents stories in order to put herself at the center. This is the person who told us she was at civil rights protests as a toddler. But she never mentioned that she was right near the bomb. In fact, she continued to hide that fact. It's completely bizarre. What's going on here?
Not bizarre, and that's a rhetorical question. He knows what's going on.
We're not sure. Something's going on here. There's no question about that because the story doesn't make any sense. And now that we mention it, whatever happened to the investigation into those 2 pipe bombs? Now, everyone's assumed those bombs.
I'm going to show you the video on where these still photos were taken here that the FBI put out.
Are planted by a Trump supporter. The media have told us that. But who is this person? 13 months later, we have no idea.
13 months. The FBI has been looking for this guy. Geofencing, satellites. We've got all this technology. There's no way you're getting away with a crime. This person freaking sets a bomb by the vice president, and we can't find him. And he's on his phone almost continuously, which means his phone is activated and he's using cell towers. Come on, people. This is the story of the year of corruption and ignorance or failure of the FBI, and nobody's covering it.
The FBI says it has no leads at all in the case. That's very strange. The FBI has video footage of the person who planted the pipe bombs. Footage of that person sitting on a park bench outside the DNC.
I'm going to show you these videos.
Talking on a phone, reaching into a backpack and planting the device in the spot where Kamala Harris's security people found it the next day. Now, you'd think in the age of facial recognition software, that video might produce a suspect.
And you notice they're not showing us the bombs, the quote bombs that could have gone off. The FBI said in their thing, the pipe bombs could have gone off. We didn't see these type bombs. Did they have a fuse? Was it a pipe with a firecracker in it? Because that would be a pipe bomb, right? Put a firecracker in a pipe, it becomes a pipe bomb. Firecracker in a pipe. We don't even know what the bomb is, how powerful it was, whether it had BBs or nails. We know nothing. We haven't seen a picture. We haven't seen the detonate device. Who made it? How do you make it? I mean, if you wear gloves to make it and not leave a print or DNA or a sweat drop, I mean, come on, people.
You'd think the fact that person was on a phone might be very helpful since people are identified all the time in crimes.
All the time. Geofence. They can find every phone that pinged every tower and track you. And you're going to see in a video at FBI here in a minute where they track this guy pretty good.
By their phones. But no leads whatsoever. Nor apparently does the FBI have DNA evidence. And that's very weird. That means the person who planted these bombs did not leave a single fingerprint, not a single skin cell, hair, or droplet of breath on either one of the pipe bombs.
So we have a pipe bomb in a guy's backpack that he owns, that he probably carries around without gloves sometimes, that he's had other personal things in there. He makes these bombs. He puts these bombs in this backpack. He travels around and gets these bombs out while he's working on his phone. Even though he has gloves on, he's transferring things from his phone to the bomb to the backpack. There's all this transfer of evidence going on, and the FBI is lost. Wow.
This person never coughed or sneezed or exhaled moisture onto his or her gloves or onto any of the surfaces he or she touched.
Never scratched himself. You got a glove on? Most people scratch themselves, adjust their hair. You're going to see this guy take his glasses off with his gloves. Transfer of DNA from the glasses, from his head. As he's taken his glasses off to put them back on, we have DNA transfer. Nothing. FBI is lost. Wow, man, those guys are good, too.
While sneaking around the surveillance fortress that is Capitol Hill on camera the night before January 6th.
Dude, Capitol Hill, can you imagine how many cameras? I bet you Capitol Hill is the most photograph and most camera-rich environment in the entire United States. I bet there's more freaking cameras in Washington, D.C. than any other place on the planet if you went by square mile or by capita. It's freaking crazy the number of video surveillance they have there.
Weird. People who plant bombs are almost always caught because there's a lot of physical evidence. This physical evidence was in pristine condition. But this person hasn't been caught. This person, an amateur wearing Nike Air Max sneakers, has confounded the entire FBI crime lab and eluded the largest manhunt in American history. Now, you should know that the first pipe bomb was discovered just minutes before the first assault on the Capitol at 1 p.m. Capitol Hill police were...
That's coincidence. Planted the bombs before, and they discovered the first one right before the huge peaceful protest happened.
Notified of the bomb at 12:49 p.m. Protesters at the Capitol swarmed the first police line at 12:50. That's 1 minute later. The chief of Capitol Police at the time, Stephen Sund, later told the Washington Post he believed the pipe bombs were not designed to kill people. They were meant to draw law enforcement away from the Capitol.
Huh. How did he know that? Why did he think a pipe bomb wasn't designed to kill people? A reasonable conclusion is there was no ignition device. There was no, if I plant, let's say I just go get a PVC pipe, put 2 caps on it. Don't put gunpowder, no ignition, nothing. I just put a simple pipe. And I stick it underneath the trash can, and then I call in a bomb threat and say, there's a pipe that looks like a pipe bomb under the trash can. Guess what? You get a lot of law enforcement. They start cordoning off. We got to figure out if it's got wires. Don't anybody get near it. Let's cordon off. Let's evacuate buildings. So that's what it sounds like was planted. Again, they're making this seem like this was a horrible bombing attempt. I want to see the bomb. I want to see the device on how technical. Most bomb people make bombs a certain way. They always put the fuse on the end or in the middle, or they use the same compound to secure it, putty, glue, whatever. They always do the same thing when they make their bombs because they know what works, and that's what they do. Was there consistencies? What did he use? What were the parts? Are they locally available? I mean, the odds of not getting any DNA transfer from this guy is slim to none and slim left town.
They were designed to be found, not to explode. In the words of Capitol Hill Police Inspector General, quote, if those pipe bombs were intended to be a diversion, it worked. Now that would make sense.
Now remember, they didn't go off. And from what we know, there wasn't even a phone call reporting them. Somebody just happened to find them.
Since the bombs themselves could not have been detonated on January 6th. The bombs were planted the night before, 17 hours before they were found. Yet the timers on the bombs were of the ancient kitchen clock variety. They could only be set to an hour maximum. The bombs had no remote detonation function. So effectively, by January 6th, they were inert. What's strange is that of all the places in the world Kamala Harris could have gone at 11:30 a.m. on January 6th, she went to the DNC building, where her bodyguards promptly discovered the pipe bomb.
Man, that's some huge... one coincidence, 2 coincidences, 3, 4, 5. There's a lot of coincidence here in this freaking thing. This stinks. And again, I don't believe the government set up 9/11. I believe there's incompetence. I don't believe a lot of the conspiracy theories out there, only because I don't have enough proof, not because I don't think the government's capable of it. But this, man, this stinks.
So if the bomb was planted by a Trump supporter as a diversion, as the Capitol Police have said, you've got to wonder how exactly that worked. Would a Trump supporter have known where Kamala Harris was going to be that morning? Probably not. Even her political allies didn't know for some reason. Yet it's fair to assume that if Kamala Harris hadn't gone to the DNC when she went, the pipe bomb wouldn't have been discovered just minutes before the insurrectionist breach of the Capitol. In other words, if Kamala Harris hadn't been there, the bomb couldn't have been the diversion that the Capitol Police Department said it was.
Good point. See, what the media does a lot is they change the facts to suit their agenda. They're saying the bombs are there as a diversion and this was a big plan and Trump probably told somebody to plan it. That's what the media is saying. But the odds of Kamala Harris showing up exactly where the bomb's at, to where the Secret Service was actually doing a detailed search with dogs and visual and hand, because not only do you do a dog search, EOD follows the dog afterwards and does a hand search of cushions, under couches. We seal areas where bombs could be hidden, so to make sure nobody goes in there after we're done. So there's all kind of things that this bomb wouldn't have even been found. So how can you say this bomb was put there as a diversion when it was found to pull the Capitol Police? It's just ridiculous.
It's all pretty mysterious, actually. And maybe weirdest of all is that the FBI has only released 3 minutes of the video showing the person who planted the bomb.
Yeah, this is kind of odd, too. On the FBI video I'm going to show you, and I'll probably make a part 2 because I'm at 20 minutes. The FBI videos that they have with his route and everything, man, they're only giving us bits and pieces of it. How did they... I'll get into that on the FBI.
Why not release more tape? Why doesn't the FBI release all of the video
exactly
that it has, so the public can help identify...
Wow, because maybe if they released all the videos, somebody would pick up something that they don't want. I mean, look, the government's always hollering about this transparency. The FBI is asking for American people. The ATF has put out a $100,000 reward for any information leading, yet they're hiding more video than they have released, probably by 10 or 20-fold, and they don't want us to see all the video. Man, the coincidences and the theory here is just pretty amazing.
This person, if you really want to catch this person, by publicly available accounts, planted a bomb mere yards from the vice president-elect of the United States. That's far more a threat to our democracy than anything that happened at the Capitol building, by far. And if you wanted to catch this person, you would release as much information about this person as you could, wouldn't you?
That's because they don't want to catch him. They're going to they either know that this guy is a left-wing loon, he's not connected to Trump or anybody else. Like most left-wings, they do shit in the cover of darkness. Or he's a government plant and they did this in order to stir up and get more power. Every time the government creates a crisis, they have to come up with more freedom seizure and more power and money and new operations in order to fix the crisis they created.
It's weird. Who's running this FBI investigation?
Hey, don't talk about the FBI. Those guys are good, Tucker.
We hate to think that person was in any way connected to the fraudulent Gretchen Whitmer kidnapping plot that the FBI helped set up right before the 2020 election.
I did a video on that, where the FBI had undercover agents trying to convince patriots to kidnap the governor. And nothing is being covered on that. Those agents aren't charged. They aren't being investigated. They're nothing. They actually still have the people in jail that their informant and the FBI undercover who suggested and gave them the address on where the governor's at to go kidnap him. No problem. That's all hush hush.
We're not sure of the answer. We can't confirm one way or the other because the FBI is pretty close-mouthed about all of this. And that's strange, too. What we can confirm is that Kamala Harris was not chased into danger on January 6th by insurrectionists. No, she was driven to danger by a government chauffeur. And then, critically, Kamala Harris hid that fact for more than a year.
That's pretty interesting. That she hid the fact that they found a bomb close to her. This sounds so much like an inside job. It's ridiculous, people. This is back when we used to have a free press that actually investigated the government and held the government accountable and took in sources and had people that trusted to send them stuff so they would release it and keep government in check. This is what you couldn't do 20, 30 years ago because the press actually worked for the truth and holding government accountable. And now they pretty much work for the government. They don't care about truth, and they just want to keep their access and power.
Why is that? We have a right to know the answer to that question. It's not a conspiracy theory. It's an entirely legitimate question. Maybe someone could ask Kamala Harris.
All right, so I'm going to do the video now. I'll make a part 2 if you want to come back on the FBI footage on all this. Okay, so we'll end that there. If you want to come back for the video footage where I'm going to cover all the footage and his route and all this information that the FBI has and supposedly can't find this guy, come back for part 2.